The red dot danced across her chest, steady and lethal. A sniper's laser marking Kiana Ford for death in the middle of a crowded corporate gala. In that split second, Parker Drake, the janitor refilling champagne glasses, made a choice that would shatter everything. Throwing his body into hers, sending them both crashing to the marble floor as the bullet shattered the crystal chandelier above them. Glass rained down like deadly snow, screams erupted, but his arms remained locked around her, fierce with a protection he couldn't explain. He didn't know she was Kiana Ford, the tech CEO whose artificial intelligence empire was reshaping the future. He only knew that, in this moment, in this ballroom in downtown Boston, someone needed saving, and he was all she had. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The charity gala at the Harrington Grand Hotel was in full swing. Boston's elite mingling beneath chandeliers that cost more than most people's homes. Parker Drake moved through the crowd like a ghost, his janitor's uniform rendering him invisible to the women in designer gowns and men in custom tuxedos. He'd been working the event circuit for 3 years now, ever since he'd needed steady evening work that didn't conflict with his daughter Sophia's school schedule. Tonight's event was particularly packed. Some tech summit celebrating innovation and the future, which meant a lot of self-important speeches and champagne consumption that would leave him cleaning until 3 a.m. Parker didn't mind. The overtime meant he could afford Sophia's violin lessons next month, maybe even those new shoes she needed, but hadn't asked for because she knew money was tight. He was refilling champagne flutes at the service station when he noticed the woman on stage. She commanded attention effortlessly, her voice carrying across the ballroom without seeming to strain. Late 20s, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled back in an elegant twist and eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. The future of artificial intelligence isn't about replacing human connection, she was saying, her hands moving expressively. It's about enhancing it, making our lives more efficient so we have more time for what actually matters. Family, creativity, the pursuits that make us human. Parker found himself listening despite his exhaustion. There was something genuine in her voice, different from the usual corporate doublespeak he heard at these events. "That's Kiana Ford," whispered James, one of the senior waiters, appearing beside Parker with an empty tray. "CEO of Next Gen AI. Company's worth like $8 billion. She's only been running it for 2 years, and she's already doubled its value." Parker nodded, filing the information away as irrelevant to his life. Rich people stayed rich, poor people stayed poor, and janitors cleaned up after both groups. But then he saw it. A red dot, small and precise, tracking across the crowd. Parker's breath caught. He'd seen laser sights before, back in his previous life, the one he didn't talk about. 3 tours as a military medic had taught him to recognize threats, and this was definitely a threat. The dot climbed the stage, moving with deliberate intent. It settled on Kiana Ford's chest, right over her heart. Parker's body moved before his mind caught up. He vaulted over the service station, champagne glasses shattering behind him. People turned at the noise, confusion rippling through the crowd. The red dot remained steady. 20 feet, 15, 10. Kiana Ford looked up, probably wondering about the commotion. Her eyes met Parker's for a fraction of a second, confusion and the beginning of fear flickering across her face. Parker launched himself forward, tackling her around the waist. They hit the stage floor hard, his body covering hers. The crack of the rifle shot came simultaneously with the explosion of crystal above them. The massive chandelier, struck dead center, shattered in a cascade of deadly shards. Screams erupted. People scattered in every direction, years of active shooter drills creating instant panic. Parker kept his body over Kiana's, feeling the sharp sting of glass cutting through his thin uniform jacket. More shots. 3, 4, 5, each one slamming into the stage or the walls behind them. "Stay down," Parker commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to giving orders in life-or-death situations. "Don't move until I say." Beneath him, Kiana Ford was breathing hard, but not panicking. Good. Panic got people killed. The shooting stopped. Either the sniper was repositioning or had been forced to flee. Parker counted to 10, listening for any indication of continuing threat. Hotel security was flooding into the ballroom, along with what looked like private bodyguards. "Are you hurt?" Parker asked, still not moving. "I don't think so." Her voice was steadier than he'd expected. "You? I'll live." He carefully shifted his weight, looking for the red dot. Nothing. Slowly, he helped her sit up, keeping himself between her and the windows. That's when he saw the blood. Not hers. His. His left arm was sliced open from shoulder to elbow, where a shard of crystal had caught him during the fall. The white sleeve of his uniform was soaked crimson. "Oh, God," Kiana said, her composure cracking. "You're bleeding everywhere." "It's superficial," Parker lied. The cut was deep, probably needed stitches. "Just looks worse than it is." Security reached them, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Parker raised his good arm, keeping his movements slow and visible. Last thing he needed was to get shot by overzealous security after surviving the actual assassination attempt. "He saved me," Kiana said sharply, her CEO voice cutting through the chaos. "This man just saved my life. Lower your weapons." One of the security team, a woman with sharp features and military bearing, knelt beside them. "Miss Ford, we need to get you out of here, now." "He comes with us," Kiana said. "He's injured." "Ma'am, protocol says—" "I don't care about protocol, Victoria. This man just took a bullet meant for me. He comes with us or I don't move." Parker started to protest. He needed to get home to Sophia. Mrs. Chen, his neighbor who watched her during evening shifts, would be worried. But the world was tilting slightly, blood loss making everything fuzzy around the edges. "Fine," Victoria agreed tersely. "But we move now." They were surrounded by a human shield of security, rushed through service corridors Parker had cleaned 100 times, but now seemed unfamiliar. The wound in his arm was screaming, adrenaline wearing off to reveal the true extent of the damage. An SUV was waiting in the loading bay, engine running. They were pushed inside, Victoria taking the driver's seat while 2 other guards climbed in front and back. "Massachusetts General," Kiana ordered. "Trauma entrance." "Miss Ford, we should take you to the safe house first. He's bleeding." Kiana interrupted. "We're going to the hospital, now." The drive blurred together. Parker was aware of Kiana's hands pressing something against his arm, her expensive dress ruined with his blood. He tried to tell her not to worry, that he'd had worse, but forming words seemed impossibly difficult. "Stay with me," Kiana was saying, her face close to his. "What's your name?" "Parker," he managed. "Parker Drake." "Parker, you're going to be fine. We're almost there. Just keep your eyes open. Look at me." He tried to focus on her face. She was beautiful, he realized distantly. Not the polished beauty of her stage presence, but something more real. Fear and determination mixed together. Genuine concern for a stranger who'd happened to save her life. "I have a daughter," Parker said, panic suddenly cutting through the fog. "Sophia. She's 9. If something happens—" "Nothing's going to happen," Kiana said firmly. "You're going to be fine. You're going to see Sophia tomorrow. Where is she now? Mrs. Chen, apartment 6D, Brookside Towers on Commonwealth Avenue. I'll make sure she's taken care of, Kiana promised. I'll call her myself. But you're going to be fine, Parker. You have to be. The SUV screeched to a halt at the emergency entrance. Suddenly there were doctors and nurses, a gurney, bright lights. Someone was cutting away his uniform jacket, asking questions he couldn't quite process. The last thing Parker saw before they sedated him was Kiana Ford, her designer dress covered in blood and glass, her perfect hair falling loose around her shoulders, arguing with someone about getting him the best surgical team. A CEO fighting for a janitor like his life mattered as much as hers. Then darkness claimed him, complete and absolute. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Parker woke to the steady beep of monitors and the antiseptic smell that meant hospital. His left arm throbbed with a deep, insistent pain that Morphed couldn't quite touch. For a moment, he was disoriented, the white ceiling tiles unfamiliar. Then memory flooded back. The gala, the red dot, Kiana Ford's weight as he tackled her to the stage. Dad. His heart nearly stopped. Sophia was there, curled up in the chair beside his bed, her favorite stuffed penguin clutched in her arms. Mrs. Chen sat beside her, but it was the other woman in the room that made Parker's breath catch. Kiana Ford stood by the window, speaking quietly into her phone. In the morning light, without the gala's dramatic staging, he could see her more clearly. She was younger than he'd thought, maybe 28, with the kind of sharp intelligence in her eyes that made you feel both assessed and understood simultaneously. He's awake, Sophia announced, scrambling onto the bed with the fearless enthusiasm of a 9-year-old who didn't understand the concept of injuries. Careful, Mia, Mrs. Chen warned. Your papa is hurt. It's okay, Parker said, his voice rough. He wrapped his good arm around his daughter, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Hey, baby girl. You got super hurt, Sophia said accusingly. Mrs. Chen said you saved someone's life. But heroes aren't supposed to end up in hospitals. Sometimes they do, Kiana said softly, ending her call and moving closer to the bed. Sometimes being a hero means getting hurt so someone else doesn't. Sophia studied her with the unfiltered curiosity of someone too young to be impressed by wealth or status. Are you the lady my dad saved? I am. Are you famous? Kiana smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. Some people think so. Good, Sophia said decisively. Then you can pay for my dad's hospital bill. Our insurance isn't very good. The innocence of the statement, the matter-of-fact way his 9-year-old had already learned to worry about medical expenses, made Parker's chest tight with something that had nothing to do with his injuries. Sophia, that's not, he started. But Kiana interrupted. Already taken care of, everything. And I've arranged for a private room as soon as one becomes available. Parker stared at her. You can't do that. I can, and I have. Her tone was pleasant but firm, the voice of someone used to making decisions and having them followed. Mr. Drake, Parker, you saved my life. The least I can do is ensure you receive proper medical care. I don't need charity. It's not charity, it's gratitude. She paused, something shifting in her expression. Do you know who I am? Parker shook his head. The name had been vaguely familiar when James mentioned it at the gala, but he couldn't place it beyond that. I'm the CEO of NextGen AI. We develop artificial intelligence systems for everything from medical diagnostics to climate modeling. The company is worth about $8 billion, give or take. The number was so absurd that Parker almost laughed. 8 billion. He could barely comprehend 8,000. "The lady on the billboard," Sophia exclaimed. "You're on that big screen near my school, the one that talks about making the future better." Kiana smiled. That's right. Parker felt suddenly out of his depth. He'd saved a billionaire, the kind of person whose morning coffee probably cost more than he made in a day. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "Would it have mattered?" Kiana asked. He thought about it, about that moment when he'd seen the laser dot, seen her in danger. "No." "Then we understand each other." A doctor entered, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and efficient movements. "Mr. Drake, I'm Dr. Patel. You're very lucky. The glass severed muscle tissue but missed the major arteries. We've repaired the damage, but you'll need physical therapy to regain full range of motion. You're looking at 6 to 8 weeks of recovery." "When can I go back to work?" The question came automatically. 6 to 8 weeks without pay meant eviction, meant Sophia going hungry, meant everything falling apart. Dr. Patel frowned. "Mr. Drake, your job will have to wait. This injury, your employer has been notified." Kiana interrupted smoothly. "The Harrington Hotel and all associated event services have been informed that you're on medical leave with full pay. Your position will be waiting when you're cleared to return." Parker stared at her. "That's not possible. The hotel doesn't—" "Next Gen AI has significant contracts with the Harrington Group," Kiana said. "I made some calls. It's handled." Made some calls? As if it were that simple. As if she hadn't just rearranged his entire world with a phone conversation. After Dr. Patel left with instructions about wound care and physical therapy, Mrs. Chen excused herself to give them privacy. Sophia, however, remained firmly planted on the bed, one hand holding Parker's, the other clutching her penguin. "I should let you rest," Kiana said, but she didn't move toward the door. "Why?" Parker asked. "Why are you doing all this? The hospital bills, the job protection, it's too much." "Is it?" Kiana moved to sit in the chair Mrs. Chen had vacated. "Someone tried to kill me tonight. A professional sniper based on the precision of those shots. Without you, I'd be dead. So what's the appropriate response to someone who saved your life?" A thank you card seemed insufficient. "Who would want you dead?" Her laugh was bitter. "Take your pick. Competitors who want my AI patents, foreign governments who see our technology as a threat, my ex-business partner who claims I stole his ideas, my ex-boyfriend who thinks I owe him half the company because we dated while I was building it. That's your life? People wanting you dead? That's success in the tech industry." She leaned back, exhaustion evident in the lines around her eyes. "My father started Next Gen in his garage 20 years ago. When he died 3 years ago, everyone expected the company to fold. A 25-year-old woman couldn't possibly run a billion-dollar AI company. But I did. I grew it. I made it matter. And yes, I made enemies." Parker looked at his daughter, who was dozing against his good shoulder. "I can't imagine living like that. Always looking over your shoulder, never trusting anyone." "You can't." Kiana's gaze was knowing. "You spotted that laser sight before anyone else. You moved with military precision. That's not janitor training, Parker." He was quiet for a long moment. "I was an army medic. 3 tours in Afghanistan. When I came back, I had a daughter to raise and not many marketable skills that didn't involve combat zones. Janitorial work pays the bills and lets me be home when Sophia needs me." What happened to her mother? The question was gentle, but it still hurt. "Cancer. Sophia was 6. The medical bills destroyed us financially, even with my VA benefits. I was working 2 jobs trying to keep up, but Rachel's focus was always on Sophia. Making memories, she called it. Recording videos for birthdays she wouldn't see, writing letters for Sophia to open on important days. I'm sorry. Me too. Parker adjusted Sophia's position carefully. But she gave me the most important thing in my life. Everything I do is for her. Kiana was quiet, studying them both. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. Kiana stood, pulling a business card from her purse, expensive stock with raised lettering. When you're discharged, call me, please. Why? Because, she paused at the door. In a room full of bodyguards and security experts, a janitor was the only one who saw the threat. That's not luck, Parker. That's skill. And I need people with your skills around me. After she left, Parker held the card, turning it over in his good hand. Kiana Ford, CEO, Next Gen AI. A direct line, not a secretary or assistant. He tucked it into the drawer beside his bed, certain this was where their paths would diverge. She'd go back to her billions and boardrooms. He'd go back to his mop and bucket. They were from different worlds, brought together by violence and chance. But life, Parker would learn, rarely followed the expected path. 3 days later, Parker was moved to a private room that looked more like a luxury hotel suite than a hospital. Fresh flowers appeared daily, not showy arrangements, but simple sunflowers and daisies that made Sophia smile when she visited after school. His meals came from some executive kitchen, and a tablet appeared on his bedside table loaded with games and educational apps for Sophia. The nice lady sent it. Sophia informed him, already deep into a math game that would have cost $50 in the App Store. She called to ask what I liked. She called you. Uh-huh. She wanted to know about school and my favorite subjects. She said I could visit her office sometime to see the robots they're building for hospitals. Parker didn't know what to make of it. In his experience, rich people didn't maintain interest in their charity cases. They wrote checks and moved on. Conscience is clear. But Kiana seemed different. On the 4th day, she appeared during visiting hours, carrying a bag from some expensive bakery. She was dressed more casually than at the gala, jeans and a sweater that probably still cost more than his monthly rent, but the effect was somehow more approachable. I brought cookies, she announced. Sophia mentioned you liked the chocolate chip, ones from Tot Bakery. When did she mention that? Parker asked, bemused. During our daily call. Kiana said it so matter-of-factly, like daily calls with a 9-year-old were perfectly normal for a billionaire CEO. Sophia bounded over, giving Kiana a hug that seemed to surprise them both. Miss Kiana, did you bring the pictures of the robots? I did. Kiana pulled out her phone, settling into the chair beside Parker's bed while Sophia climbed up next to her. They spent 20 minutes looking at photos of medical AI systems, Kiana explaining how they worked in terms Sophia could understand. Parker watched them, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. Sophia hadn't been this animated with anyone since Rachel died. And Kiana, the intimidating CEO from the news, was patient and kind, genuinely interested in his daughter's questions. Miss Kiana, Sophia said eventually, my teacher says AI is going to take people's jobs. Is that true? That's a complicated question, Kiana said thoughtfully. Some jobs will change, yes. But our goal at NextGen is to use AI to handle the boring, repetitive tasks so humans can focus on the work that requires creativity, empathy, and connection, things that make us uniquely human. Like my dad saving you? Sophia said. A robot wouldn't have done that, right? Kiana's eyes met Parker's over Sophia's head. No, a robot wouldn't have. What your dad did required split-second judgment, courage, and the willingness to sacrifice himself for a stranger. That's something no AI can replicate. After Sophia left with Mrs. Chen for dinner, Kiana remained. The easy conversation of earlier faded into something more weighted. You don't have to keep doing this, Parker said quietly. The visits, the gifts, the calls to Sophia. You've paid whatever debt you think you owe. Is that what you think this is? Obligation? Isn't it? Kiana was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the Boston skyline. When that laser sight appeared on my chest, I froze. Complete mental paralysis. I knew I should move, should do something, but my brain just stopped working. Do you know what that feels like? To be that helpless? Yes, Parker said simply. You do, don't you? She turned back to face him. Afghanistan? Among other places. He didn't elaborate. Some memories were better left buried. I've spent the last 2 years building walls, Kiana continued. After my father died, after my ex tried to steal the company, after every competitor and critic said I'd fail, I made myself untouchable. No vulnerability, no weakness. And it worked. I built an empire. But I also built a prison. I don't understand. Sophia called me yesterday, Kiana said softly. Not because I'm a CEO or a billionaire, but because she wanted to tell me about the A she got on her science test. When was the last time someone contacted me just because they wanted to share good news? Parker saw it then. The loneliness beneath the polished exterior. You're isolated. Completely. My assistant schedules my social interactions. My security team vets everyone I meet. I haven't had a genuine conversation in years until you and Sophia. She smiled, but it was sad. A janitor and a 9-year-old girl showed me what I'd lost in my pursuit of success. We're not that special. You are, though. You're real. When Sophia talks to me, she doesn't want anything except someone to listen. When you look at me, you see a person, not a bank account or a business opportunity. Parker's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Police want to interview you tomorrow about the shooting. Thought you should know. Also, we found something concerning. We'll discuss in person. Detective Hayes Kiana's phone buzzed simultaneously. Her expression darkened as she read her message. They found the sniper's position, she said. Rooftop across from the hotel. Professional setup. Military-grade rifle. Whoever hired them had serious resources. Do they have suspects? Too many. She pulled up something on her phone, showing him a list of names and organizations. The police gave me this. People and groups who've made credible threats against me in the past 6 months. Parker scanned the list. Tech competitors, environmental activists who thought AI was dangerous, foreign entities, even former employees. This is insane. This is my life. She took the phone back. The detective thinks the attempt was too sophisticated to be random. They're investigating my inner circle, people who would have known I'd be at that gala. How many people knew? My entire company. The event was on my public schedule for weeks. Kiana rubbed her temples, exhaustion evident. They also want to assign me protective detail, but I have private security. Who didn't stop the sniper? Parker pointed out. No, you did. A janitor with military training and good instincts. She looked at him intently. The detective suggested I hire additional personal security. Someone outside my usual circle who can't be compromised. Parker saw where this was going. Kiana, I'm not a bodyguard. You're a combat medic who spotted a threat no one else saw and acted without hesitation. That's exactly what I need. I have Sophia to think about, who loves Mrs. Chen and would be thrilled to spend more time with her. Kiana leaned forward. Parker, I need someone I can trust. Someone who isn't in this for the money or the access. Someone who proved they'd take a bullet for me. I didn't take a bullet. I got cut by some glass. You know what I mean. Her intensity was almost overwhelming. I'm offering you a job, head of personal security, real salary, benefits, education fund for Sophia. And more importantly, a chance to do work that matters. I clean floors for a living. What do I know about corporate security? You know about threats, you know about protection, and you know about sacrifice. She stood, pacing the small room. My current security team is excellent at their jobs, but they're predictable. They follow protocols, which means anyone studying them can predict their movements. You're different. You think outside the box because you're not trained to think inside it. Parker wanted to say no, wanted to return to his simple life of mops and buckets and evening shifts that let him be home when Sophia needed him. But he looked at the business card on his nightstand, thought about Sophia's violin lessons he could actually afford, about the life he might be able to give her if he took this chance. I need to think about it, he said finally. Fair enough. Kiana moved toward the door, then paused. Parker, someone tried to kill me. They failed because of you. But they're going to try again, and next time, I might not be so lucky. I need you. After she left, Parker sat in the expensive hospital room, surrounded by flowers and gifts and evidence of a life he'd never imagined having access to. His phone rang. Mrs. Chen. Parker, mijo, I need to tell you something. A woman came by today, from Sophia's school, said there's been a man asking questions about her. What teacher she has, what time school lets out. The principal wanted you to know. Parker's blood ran cold. What kind of man? They didn't get a good description. But Parker, I'm worried. First you get hurt saving that CEO lady, now someone's asking about Sophia? Lock the doors, Parker said immediately. Don't let anyone in except me or people you absolutely know. I'll be home as soon as the doctor clears me. After he hung up, Parker stared at Kiana's card. Maybe his world and hers weren't as separate as he'd thought. Maybe the danger that followed her had already found him. Maybe he didn't have the luxury of saying no. Parker called Kiana before he could talk himself out of it. She answered on the first ring. Someone's been asking about Sophia at her school, he said without preamble. Asking questions about her schedule, her teacher, when she gets out. The silence on the other end was heavy. When? Today, Mrs. Chen just told me. I'm sending a security team to your building right now. Victoria will coordinate with local police. Kiana, I can't afford private security. You're not paying for it, I am. Her voice was steel. Parker, this is exactly what I was afraid of. Whoever tried to kill me saw you save me. Your face was all over the news, even if they didn't identify you by name. They know you're connected to me now. Parker's hand clenched around the phone. My daughter has nothing to do with this. I know. And I'm going to make sure she stays safe. But Parker, you need to understand something. You're already involved. The moment you tackled me on that stage, you became part of this. Saying no to the job won't change that. She was right. And he hated it. Hated that his instinct to save someone had put Sophia at risk. Hated that the simple life he'd built was crumbling around him. The job, he said quietly. What exactly would it entail? You'd be with me, most of the time. Corporate events, board meetings, travel when necessary. Your job is to spot threats before they materialize and keep me alive if they do. What about Sophia? She'd have security too. Discreet, but constant. And Parker, the salary is $200,000 a year. Full benefits, housing allowance if you want to move to a safer neighborhood, and a $50,000 education fund for Sophia. The numbers made his head spin. $200,000. He currently made $38,000 between his janitorial jobs and VA disability. Why so much? Because your life is going to get complicated. Because you'll be on call essentially all the time. Because the people trying to kill me have unlimited resources, and I need someone equally committed to stopping them. She paused. And because you're worth it, Parker. What you did at that gala, the instincts you have, that's invaluable. Dr. Patel arrived for evening rounds before Parker could respond. After checking his vitals and wound, she gave him unexpected news. You're healing remarkably well. I'm clearing you for discharge tomorrow morning. You'll need to continue physical therapy, but you can do that outpatient. After she left, Parker called Kiana back. I'm getting out tomorrow. I know. Dr. Patel copied me on your chart. I've arranged for a car to pick you up. I can take the bus. Parker, someone is potentially stalking your daughter. You're not taking the bus. The car will bring you to my office. We need to meet with Detective Hayes anyway, and I'd like you to meet my security team. See if this is really something you want to do. And if I decide I don't, then I'll still make sure you and Sophia are protected. But I hope you'll say yes, not just because I need you, but because I think you need this too. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've been surviving, not living. Just like me. Maybe we can change that for each other. The next morning, a black SUV arrived at the hospital's discharge area. Not the armored vehicle from the night of the shooting, but still clearly expensive. The driver was a serious-looking woman in her 30s who introduced herself as Agent Torres, part of Kiana's security detail. Sophia was bouncing in the back seat, having convinced Mrs. Chen that she should skip school to pick up her father. Dad, Miss Kiana said we're going to her office. It has a whole floor just for testing robots. Did she now? Parker climbed in carefully, his arm still tender. She also said there's a cafeteria with ice cream. Sophia added conspiratorially. For lunch. The next Gen AI headquarters was in the Seaport District, a gleaming tower of glass and steel that seemed to capture and reflect the harbor light. The lobby alone was more impressive than any place Parker had ever worked, with soaring ceilings and interactive displays showing AI applications in medicine, climate, science, and infrastructure. They were ushered to a private elevator that required a key card and biometric scan. It opened directly into the executive floor, where Kiana was waiting. She looked every inch the CEO today. In a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his car, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. But when she saw Sophia, her expression softened. You came? She said, kneeling to Sophia's level. Ready to see some robots? Yes. Sophia practically vibrated with excitement. Victoria will give you the tour while your dad and I talk business. Sound good? After Sophia left, chattering happily with the head of security, Kiana led Parker to a conference room. Detective Hayes was already there, along with two other people Parker didn't recognize. Mr. Drake, Hayes said, standing to shake his hand. Good to see you on your feet. This is Agent Chen from the FBI, and this is Thomas Whitmore, head of corporate security for NextGen. Parker sat, feeling out of place in his jeans and borrowed shirt. Everyone else looked like they belonged in a magazine spread about successful people. We need to discuss what we've learned. Hayes began, pulling up images on the conference room screen. The sniper was a professional, likely former military based on the setup and precision. We found the rifle, but it was sanitized. No prints, no DNA, no serial numbers. So we have nothing, Kiana said. Not nothing. We traced the rental of the office space where the sniper set up. It was leased 3 months ago by a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. It took some digging, but we eventually found the money trail. The screen changed to show financial documents, accounts, and transfers that meant nothing to Parker. The company is owned by a larger holding company, which is owned by an even larger one. But at the top of that particular pyramid, we found something interesting. Hayes pulled up a photo of a man in his 50s. Silver hair, expensive suit, predatory smile. Kenneth Ashford. Ring any bells, Miss Ford? Kiana's face went pale. Kenneth is my former business partner. We started NextGen together with my father. And he left the company when? Agent Chen asked. 5 years ago. There was a disagreement about the direction of our AI development. Kenneth wanted to focus on military applications, autonomous weapons systems. My father and I refused. Kenneth tried to force a vote, but my father had controlling interest. Kenneth left and started his own company, Ashford Defense Technologies, which has struggled to gain traction, Agent Chen said. Because every major defense contract they bid on, they lose to companies using your AI systems licensed from NextGen. You think Kenneth hired someone to kill me over business competition? Kiana's voice was incredulous. We think he hired someone to kill you because you're worth more dead than alive to him. Hayes pulled up more documents. Your father's will has an interesting clause. If you die without heirs, your stake in NextGen doesn't go to the board or to shareholders. It goes to the surviving original partners, of which Kenneth Ashford is one. That can't be, right? My father would never. It's a standard succession clause from when they first incorporated, Whitmore interjected. Before you joined the company officially, your father probably forgot it existed. Kiana stood, pacing to the windows. So Kenneth kills me, inherits my shares, and suddenly has controlling interest in NextGen. He can pivot the company toward military contracts, sell off the civilian divisions, everything my father built to help people. That's our working theory, Hayes confirmed. But proving it is another matter. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, they're all legal on paper. We can't directly connect Kenneth to the assassination attempt. Yet, Agent Chen said. We're building a case, but it takes time. Meanwhile, Miss Ford, you're still at risk. Which is where I come in, Parker said, speaking for the first time since the meeting started. Everyone turned to look at him. Kiana offered me a job, head of personal security. I'm thinking I should take it. With respect, Mr. Drake, Whitmore said. You're a janitor with military medical training. We have a team of former Secret Service agents, ex-Special Forces, professionals who do this for a living. Who didn't see the sniper? Parker pointed out. No offense to your team, but I spotted the threat and neutralized it before any of your professionals even knew there was a problem. You got lucky? Did I? Parker leaned forward. Or did I see what trained security missed because I wasn't following a protocol? Because I was thinking about threats instead of procedures? Whitmore opened his mouth to argue, but Kiana cut him off. Parker's right. Our security is excellent at what they do, but they're predictable. Kenneth knows how corporate security operates. He can plan around it. Parker is an unknown variable. Miss Ford, I strongly advise against this, Whitmore said. Mixing personal feelings with professional security is a recipe for disaster. Who said anything about personal feelings? But Kiana's eyes met Parker's across the table, and something passed between them that definitely wasn't professional. "I'll do it on a trial basis," Parker said. 3 months. If it's not working, we part ways. But I have conditions." "Name them," Kiana said. "Sophia's safety is paramount. She gets the same level of protection you do, non-negotiable. Mrs. Chen too, since she's often caring for Sophia." "Done." "I need training. If I'm going to do this job right, I need to understand corporate security protocols, even if I'm going to break them. I need to know how your security team operates." "Whitmore will arrange it," Kiana said, ignoring the man's grimace. "And one more thing. Total honesty. No more secrets about threats or dangers or corporate drama. If I'm going to protect you, I need to know everything." Kiana was quiet for a moment. "That works both ways. I need to know about your past too. Afghanistan, what you did there, what you saw. The things you don't talk about." Parker's jaw tightened. Those memories were locked away for a reason. But she was right. If they were going to trust each other with their lives, there couldn't be walls. "Deal," he said. After the meeting, Kiana found Sophia in the robotics lab, completely absorbed in watching a surgical AI perform a simulated procedure. Victoria stood nearby, looking more relaxed than Parker had ever seen her. "She's brilliant," Victoria said quietly. "Asked questions that half our engineers can't answer." "Her mother was a biomedical researcher," Parker said, "before she got sick. Sophia inherited her curiosity." They watched Sophia for a moment, this small person who was the center of Parker's universe, now standing in a world of cutting-edge technology and billion-dollar innovations like she belonged there. "I'm scared," Parker admitted quietly. "Taking this job means putting both of us at risk." "You're already at risk," Kiana said. "The question is whether you want to face it reactively or proactively." "When did you get so wise about danger?" "When someone put a laser sight on my chest and I realized how fragile everything I'd built really was." She turned to face him. "I meant what I said, Parker. I need you. Not just as security, but as someone who sees me as human, not as a commodity or a target or a business opportunity." "Is that what this is? You hiring me for companionship?" "I'm hiring you to keep me alive. The companionship is a bonus." She smiled, but it was tentative. "Is that okay? That I like having you around?" Before Parker could answer, his phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Drake," a smooth voice said when he answered. "You don't know me, but I know you. I know about your daughter Sophia. Sweet girl. Violin lessons on Tuesdays, loves strawberry ice cream. Walks home from school with the Chen woman every day at 3:15. Parker's blood turned to ice. Who is this? Someone who wants you to understand something. Miss Ford's protection is not your concern. Walk away from whatever arrangement you're making with her. Take your daughter and disappear. I'll even help you. $2 million, new identities, fresh start anywhere in the world. And if I refuse, then I stop being generous and start being creative. There are so many terrible things that can happen to little girls in this city, Mr. Drake. It would be a shame if any of them happened to Sophia. The line went dead. Parker stood frozen, the phone still pressed to his ear. Kiana was saying something, but he couldn't hear her over the roaring in his ears. Someone had just threatened his daughter. Someone had just made this very, very personal. Parker? Kiana touched his arm. What's wrong? He looked at Sophia, still fascinated by the robots, innocent and unaware of the danger circling closer. We need to move her, he said. Now, somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find her. Who can't find her? Whoever just offered me $2 million to abandon you. He met Kiana's eyes and threatened to kill Sophia if I refused. Within an hour, Sophia was in a secure location, not some obvious safe house, but a private residence in Beacon Hill owned by one of Kiana's college friends who happened to be traveling in Europe. Mrs. Chen was there too, despite her protests that she didn't need protecting. If they're watching me to get to Sophia, they're watching you too, Parker had told her. Please, just until we figure this out. Victoria had arranged everything with military efficiency. Security cameras, panic buttons, a guard rotation that looked like neighborhood dog walkers and delivery drivers. To anyone watching, it was just an empty house. Parker hated being separated from his daughter, but he hated the idea of her being used against him even more. She'll be safe, Kiana promised as they drove back to Next Gen headquarters. Victoria's team is the best. The same team that didn't see the sniper? Parker couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. The same team that has successfully protected me for 2 years without incident until that night. One failure doesn't negate their competence. She was right, but fear made him irrational. Someone knew about Sophia's schedule, her habits, her violin lessons. They'd been watching his daughter, probably for days, and he hadn't noticed. What kind of father missed something like that? Stop, Kiana said firmly. I can see you spiraling. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? I'm the one who tackled you. I'm the one who put us on their radar. You're the one who saved my life. The rest is on them, not you. They arrived at Next Gen to find Whitmore waiting with a grim expression. We swept Miss Ford's penthouse, found 3 listening devices and a camera in the bedroom. Parker felt sick. How long have they been there? Based on the battery levels, at least a month, maybe longer. A month, Kiana repeated, her voice hollow. They've been watching me for a month. Listening to your calls, watching your routines, learning everything about you. Whitmore pulled up surveillance footage on his tablet. We also found this. The man who was asking about Sophia at her school. The image was grainy but clear enough. Middle-aged, nondescript features. The kind of person you'd forget 5 minutes after seeing them. Exactly the kind of person you'd hire for surveillance. Do we know who he is? Parker asked. Former CIA, name's Robert Sullivan. Officially retired, unofficially works as a contractor for people who need things done quietly. Whitmore swiped to another image. He was seen entering the Ashford Defense Technologies building yesterday. That's not proof Kenneth hired him, Agent Chen said. She joined them via video conference from the FBI field office. It's suspicious, but not actionable. So what do we do? Parker demanded. Wait for them to make another attempt? Wait for them to actually hurt Sophia? We build the case, Chen said. Keep Miss Ford safe, keep your daughter safe, and gather evidence that will actually hold up in court. How long will that take? As long as it takes. After the call ended, Parker found himself alone with Kiana in her office. The space was less formal than he'd expected. Yes, there was the massive desk and the wall of windows overlooking Boston Harbor. But there were also personal touches. Photos of what looked like her father, a child's drawing framed on the wall, a worn copy of a robotics textbook on her shelf. Tell me about him, Parker said, nodding to the photo of an older man with kind eyes and Kiana's smile. My father. She picked up the frame, running her fingers over the glass. David Ford. Brilliant engineer, terrible businessman, wonderful parent. He started NextGen because he believed AI could solve problems instead of creating them. Cancer detection, climate modeling, infrastructure optimization. He wanted to make the world better. Sounds like a good man. The best. When my mother died, he raised me alone, brought me to work with him, let me tinker with circuits before I could read. I learned coding sitting on his lap, learned business ethics watching him turn down lucrative contracts because the applications were questionable. What happened to him? Heart attack, sudden, massive, fatal. He was 58. She set the photo down carefully. The company nearly collapsed. I was 25, barely out of business school. The board wanted to sell. Kenneth pushed for military contracts. Everyone thought I'd fail. But you didn't. No. I fought. I restructured. I innovated. I proved them all wrong. She looked at Parker. But I lost myself somewhere in that fight. Became so focused on success that I forgot what it was for. Forgot that my father built this company to help people, not to win some corporate war. Parker moved to stand beside her at the window. Below, the city stretched out in all directions. Millions of people living their lives, unaware of the drama playing out in this tower. You haven't forgotten, he said. You're still trying to help people. You're just doing it differently than your father did. Am I? Or am I just protecting an empire? You gave a janitor a second chance at life. You befriended his daughter without expecting anything in return. You're paying for security for an elderly woman you barely know because she matters to someone who matters to you. That's not empire building, Kiana. That's being human. She turned to face him, close enough that he could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. Why did you really say yes to this job? You know why. To protect Sophia. That's one reason. What's the other? Parker thought about his conversation with her in the hospital, about surviving versus living, about the years since Rachel's death that had blurred together in an endless cycle of work and worry and trying to be enough for Sophia. Because for the first time in 3 years, I feel like I have a purpose beyond just making it through another day. Because you make me want to be more than I thought I could be. Parker. His phone rang. Victoria. We have a situation, she said without preamble. Kenneth Ashford just called a press conference. He's making a statement in 20 minutes. They watched the press conference on the screens in Kiana's office, along with what seemed like half the NextGen staff who'd gathered to see what Ashford would say. Kenneth Ashford looked every inch the successful executive. Distinguished, confident, the very picture of corporate respectability. He stood at a podium bristling with microphones, cameras flashing as reporters jockeyed for position. Thank you all for coming, he began, his voice smooth and practiced. I'm here today to address the tragic incident at the Harrington Grand Hotel last week, where my former partner and dear friend Kiana Ford narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. Murmurs rippled through the assembled press. I want to be absolutely clear, Ashford continued. I condemn this violence in the strongest possible terms. Kiana and I may have had our business disagreements, but she is a brilliant innovator and a credit to the tech industry. The idea that anyone would want to harm her is unconscionable. That's not what this is about, Kiana said, watching the screen with narrowed eyes. He's establishing his alibi. Furthermore, Ashford said, I've learned that some have attempted to connect me to this heinous act. I want to address those allegations head on. Yes, I have business interests that sometimes compete with next-gen AI. Yes, Kiana and I parted ways over philosophical differences about AI development. But the suggestion that I would resort to violence to resolve business disputes is not only false, it's defamatory. Is he seriously threatening to sue while he's trying to kill you? Parker asked, incredulous. He's controlling the narrative, Whitmore said, getting ahead of any accusations before we can make them stick. I've cooperated fully with law enforcement, Ashford continued. Provided access to all my financial records, my communications, my movements on the night in question. I have nothing to hide, and I challenge anyone making these accusations to provide actual evidence rather than conspiracy theories and circumstantial connections. The press erupted with questions. Ashford fielded them smoothly, painting himself as the victim of a smear campaign, a successful businessman being attacked by a rival who couldn't compete fairly. He's good, Parker admitted grudgingly, making himself sympathetic while putting Kiana on the defensive. It gets better, Victoria said darkly. She pulled up a different screen, showing social media feeds. Already the narrative was shifting. Ashford as the wronged party, Kiana as the paranoid CEO seeing conspiracies where none existed. Some posts went further, suggesting she'd staged the assassination attempt for publicity, that the whole thing was a PR stunt to generate sympathy and drive up stock prices. This is insane, Kiana said. Someone actually tried to kill me. But they can't prove Ashford was behind it, Agent Chen said via video call. And now he's positioned himself as the victim of false accusations. If we push forward without solid evidence, we look like we're harassing him. Parker watched Kiana's face, saw the frustration and fear warring with the need to maintain her public composure. This was her world, he realized. Not just the technology in the boardrooms, but this constant battle of perception and positioning, where truth mattered less than narrative. We need to respond, Whitmore said. Issue our own statement. Saying what? Kiana asked. That we suspect him but can't prove it? That makes us look desperate. Then we don't respond, Parker said. Everyone turned to look at him. Ashford wants you to engage. He wants a public fight where he can play the victim, so don't give him one. And do what instead? Live your life. Show up at public events. Demonstrate that you're not afraid. Make him come to you. That's using Miss Ford as bait, Victoria protested. Miss Ford is already bait, Parker corrected. At least this way, we control the terms. Kiana was quiet, thinking. Finally, she nodded. He's right. I have a board meeting tomorrow, a tech conference this weekend, a charity dinner next week. I'm going to all of them. With respect, that's suicide, Whitmore said. No, it's calling his bluff. Kiana's voice was steel. Ashford thinks he can intimidate me into hiding, into looking weak. But I'm not my father. I don't back down from fights. She turned to Parker. You said you wanted total honesty. Here it is. I'm terrified. The idea of walking into another public event knowing someone might try to kill me makes me want to throw up. But I can't let fear win. My father didn't build this company by being afraid, and I won't lose it the same way. Then we make sure you stay alive while you're being brave, Parker said. Victoria, I need complete access to Miss Ford's schedule, her routines, every event she's attending. We're going to change everything. Different routes, different timing, different protocols. You're not in charge of security, Whitmore pointed out. Actually, Kiana said, as of right now, he is. Whitmore, you and your team report to Parker. He has final say on all security decisions regarding my safety. Miss Ford. Non-negotiable. Parker saved my life when your protocols failed. I'm trusting him to do it again. After Whitmore left, looking like he'd swallowed something bitter, Victoria approached Parker. You know you just made an enemy, right? Whitmore's been head of security for 5 years. He's not going to take kindly to being supplanted by a janitor. I'm not trying to take his job. I'm trying to keep Kiana alive. Are you? Victoria's gaze was knowing. Or is this about more than just professional protection? Parker didn't answer. He wasn't sure he could. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. at NextGen headquarters. Parker had spent the previous night going over security footage, mapping sight lines, identifying vulnerabilities. He'd slept maybe 3 hours, his mind refusing to quiet. Sophia called at 7 a.m. video chat from the safe house. Dad, when can I come home? Mrs. Chen made pancakes, but they're not as good as yours. Soon, baby, I promise. Are you keeping the nice lady safe? I'm trying. Good, I like her. She sent me a robot that helps with homework. It's really cool, even if it's basically fancy tutoring software. Parker smiled despite his exhaustion. Even at 9, Sophia could see through marketing to the underlying technology. Rachel would have been proud. I love you, Mija. Be good for Mrs. Chen. I love you too, Dad. Don't get hurt again, okay? After they hung up, Parker found Kiana in her office, already dressed in a power suit that probably cost more than his monthly salary used to be. She looked exhausted, shadows under her eyes suggesting she'd slept as little as he had. Ready for this? He asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. The board meeting was in the main conference room, 38th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Boston Harbor, which made Parker's tactical instincts scream. Too much exposure, too many angles for attack. But Victoria had assured him the glass was bulletproof, rated to stop a .50 caliber round. The room had been swept for devices 3 times that morning. Security was as tight as they could make it. The board members filtered in, 12 people who collectively controlled the direction of an $8 billion company. Parker recognized some from the news, others from Kiana's briefing files. They eyed him curiously, this newcomer in their midst, but said nothing. The meeting started normally enough. Financial reports, operational updates, the usual corporate machinery grinding forward. Parker stood by the door, watching faces, reading body language. Old habits from medical training, assessing patients not just by what they said, but how they said it. 40 minutes in, one of the board members, a woman named Catherine Reynolds, brought up the assassination attempt. We need to address the elephant in the room, she said. The attempt on Kiana's life, Ashford's press conference, the media attention. This is affecting stock prices, investor confidence. The board needs to know how you plan to handle this situation. I plan to handle it by continuing to run this company and not letting terrorists dictate our operations, Kiana said calmly. That's admirable, but is it wise? Another board member, Gerald Phelps, leaned forward. Perhaps you should consider stepping back temporarily for your safety and the company's stability. Parker's attention sharpened. That sounded less like concern and more like opportunity. Step back to where? Kiana asked. Into hiding? That shows weakness. It tells our competitors and our enemies that next-gen leadership can be intimidated. It tells them that we value human life over corporate posturing, Catherine countered. The argument escalated, voices rising. Parker watched Gerald carefully. The man kept checking his phone, quick glances under the table. Not unusual, except he was doing it every 30 seconds like he was waiting for something. Parker moved closer to Kiana, subtle but deliberate. Something felt wrong. That's when the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, bathing the room in an eerie red glow. Parker moved on instinct, putting himself between Kiana and the windows. "Everyone stay calm." Victoria's voice came over the security channel in his earpiece. "We've lost power to the 38th floor. Generators should kick in momentarily." "This isn't a power failure," Parker said quietly to Kiana. "This is coordinated." The conference, some room doors slammed shut, electronic locks engaging with a heavy thunk. Parker tried the handle. Sealed. "We're locked in," he announced. Panic rippled through the board members. Catherine pulled out her phone, tried to call security. "No signal. How is there no signal?" "Jammer," Parker said. "Someone's blocking all communications in and out of this room." The windows exploded inward. Not from bullets, but from small explosive charges that had somehow been placed on the exterior. Bulletproof glass held against projectiles, but not against shaped charges designed to blow inward. Wind roared into the room, 38 stories above the street. Papers flew, board members screamed. And through the shattered windows, cables descended. 3 figures in tactical gear rappelled down, moving with military precision. They hit the floor and immediately raised weapons. "Everyone on the ground," the lead figure commanded. "Now." Board members dropped, hands over their heads. Parker shoved Kiana down, covering her body with his. "You," the lead figure pointed at Kiana. "On your feet. You're coming with us?" "Like hell," Parker said. The figure's weapon swung toward him. "Brave. Stupid but brave. Last chance, Janitor. Move or die." Parker assessed the situation in the fraction of a second he had. 3 armed hostiles, 12 civilians, 1 exit that was sealed. The broken windows offered escape, but only if you wanted a 38-story drop. He thought of Sophia, safe in the Beacon Hill house. Thought of the promise he'd made to keep Kiana safe. Thought of Rachel, who'd fought cancer with everything she had because giving up wasn't in her nature. "You'll have to kill me," Parker said. The figure laughed. "Okay." The gun fired. Parker felt the impact, the burning pain in his shoulder. He went down hard, Kiana screaming his name. Blood, hot and wet, spreading across his shirt. But he wasn't dead. The shot had been deliberately non-fatal, meant to incapacitate, not kill. Through the haze of pain, he saw them grab Kiana, saw her fighting, kicking, clawing like a wildcat. One of the figures hit her with something, a tranquilizer probably, and she went limp. "No." Parker tried to rise, but his left arm wouldn't support his weight. Blood loss making everything hazy. They were dragging Kiana toward the windows, toward the cables. Parker's good hand found a shard of glass from the shattered window. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. He lunged, driving the glass into the nearest hostile's calf. The man screamed, his weapon clattering away. Parker grabbed it, tried to aim, but someone kicked him in the ribs. The breath left his lungs in a painful whoosh. "Persistent," the lead figure said. "I'll give you that." Another kick, this one to his wounded shoulder. Parker's vision went white with pain. When it cleared, they were gone. Kiana was gone. Up the cables and away, before security could respond. The doors burst open, Victoria and her team flooding in, with weapons drawn. Too late. "Parker!" Victoria dropped beside him, her hands immediately going to his shoulder. Combat medic training took over. "Apply pressure," he gasped. "The wound is through and through. Missed the major vessels or I'd already be dead." What happened? They took her. They took Kiana. Who took her? Professionals knew exactly what they were doing. Parker's phone buzzed in his pocket. Victoria pulled it out. Unknown number. A text message. "You should have taken the $2 million, Mr. Drake. Now we have Miss Ford, and you have 24 hours. Walk away, disappear, forget this ever happened. Otherwise, we send her back to you in pieces. Starting with her fingers. Attached was a photo. Kiana, unconscious, zip-tied to a chair in some concrete room. Alive, but for how long? Parker stared at the image, his daughter's would-be protector, failing at the one job that mattered. "Get me up," he told Victoria. "You need a hospital." "I need to find Kiana. Get me up. Now." Victoria helped him stand, her expression grim. "Parker, you're in no condition. I said get me up." He swayed, catching himself against the conference table. "They have her. They have her, and it's my fault. This isn't on you. I was supposed to protect her. I promised." His voice broke. "I promised, and I failed." His phone rang. Detective Hayes. "We know where they're holding her," Hayes said without preamble. "Traffic cameras picked up the van leaving NextGen. We tracked it to an industrial complex in Revere. SWAT is mobilizing. I'm coming with you." "Parker, you're injured." "I'm coming or I'm going alone. Your choice." There was a pause. Then Hayes sighed. "FBI's setting up a command center 5 blocks from the target location. You can observe from there. That's non-negotiable." Parker looked at Victoria. "Can you get me there?" "Against my better judgment, yes." As they rushed to the elevator, Parker's mind was racing. 24 hours. They'd given him 24 hours to walk away. But whoever had Kiana didn't know Parker Drake very well. He hadn't walked away when the laser sight appeared. He hadn't walked away when they threatened Sophia. And he sure as hell wasn't walking away now. Kiana Ford had become more than a job, more than the woman he was supposed to protect. She'd become someone worth fighting for, someone worth dying for, if it came to that. And based on the blood soaking through his makeshift bandage and the cold certainty in his gut, it might very well come to that. The industrial complex in Revere was a maze of abandoned warehouses and rusted machinery. FBI tactical teams surrounded the perimeter, while Parker watched from the command center van, frustration eating at him like acid. "Building 3, 2nd floor." Agent Chen pointed to thermal imaging. "We count 6 heat signatures. 1 smaller, likely female. That's probably Miss Ford." "What's the plan?" Parker demanded. "Standard hostage extraction. We go in hard and fast, neutralize threats, secure the suffer victim. These aren't standard criminals. They're professionals. They'll have contingencies. We know what we're doing, Mr. Drake." But as SWAT moved into position, Parker's instincts screamed warnings. Something was wrong. The setup was too obvious, the location too easy to find. His phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Look up, hero." Parker's head snapped up. On the roof of Building 3, a figure stood holding what looked like a detonator. "Abort!" Parker shouted into the radio. "It's a trap. The building is rigged." But it was too late. The SWAT team had already breached the door. The explosion was massive, the entire 2nd floor erupting in flames. SWAT members scattered, some thrown backward by the blast. Parker was already moving, ignoring Agent Chen's shouts, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. He sprinted toward Building 2, the structure adjacent to the burning warehouse. If the main building was a trap, they'd moved Kiana somewhere close, but not obvious. Victoria appeared beside him, weapon drawn. "You're insane." "Probably. You coming?" She didn't answer, just followed him through the side entrance of Building 2. The interior was dark, lit only by emergency lighting. Parker moved carefully, every sense on high alert. His shoulders screamed with each movement, but adrenaline kept him functional. A sound. Footsteps above them. They climbed the stairs, Parker leading despite his injury. On the 3rd floor, they found her. Kiana was tied to a chair in the center of an empty room, still unconscious. Too easy. Way too easy. "It's another trap," Victoria whispered. "I know." Parker scanned the room, looking for the trigger. There. Pressure plate under Kiana's chair. "They're waiting for us to grab her and trigger whatever device they've planted." "So what do we do?" Parker studied the setup, his medic training combining with 3 tours of dealing with IEDs. "I go in. You stay here. If this goes wrong, you get out and make sure Sophia knows I loved her." "Parker." But he was already moving, approaching Kiana from an angle that wouldn't trigger the pressure plate. He knelt beside her, checking her pulse, strong and steady. The tranquilizer was wearing off. "Kiana," he whispered, "can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Parker, you came." "Of course I came. Can you move?" "I think so. What's happening?" "You're sitting on a bomb. When I say move, you're going to stand up as fast as you can and run toward Victoria. Don't think, just move. Understand?" Fear flashed in her eyes, but she nodded. Parker cut her zip ties with Victoria's knife, positioned himself to take the weight off the pressure plate when Kiana stood. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Kiana lunged forward. Parker slammed his weight down on the chair. The pressure plate held for a fraction of a second, then clicked. "Run!" Parker shouted. They sprinted for the door. Behind them, the charge detonated, not massive like the other building, but enough to collapse part of the floor. Parker felt the heat, the concussive force throwing him forward. Then Victoria was pulling them both through the doorway, down the stairs, out into the cold night air where FBI agents swarmed around them. Kiana clung to Parker, both of them breathing hard, covered in dust and blood. "You came for me," she said again, like she couldn't quite believe it. "Always," Parker promised. "I'll always come for you." The aftermath was chaos. Paramedics descended on Parker, insisting he needed surgery for his shoulder. Kiana refused to be separated from him, riding in the same ambulance, holding his good hand like a lifeline. At the hospital, while doctors worked on Parker's wound, Detective Hayes brought news. "We got them. 3 of the tactical team members survived the explosion. One's talking. He confirmed Kenneth Ashford hired them, provided bank records, communication logs, everything." "It's over?" Kiana asked. "The immediate threat is, Ashford is in custody. Federal charges including attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. He's not getting out." But the real victory came 3 days later. Parker was still in the hospital, recovering from surgery, when Kiana called an emergency press conference. Against his doctor's advice, he insisted on being there. The press room at Next Gen headquarters was packed. Cameras from every major news outlet, reporters jostling for position. Kiana stood at the podium, Parker beside her in a wheelchair, his arm in a sling. "Thank you all for coming," Kiana began. "I'm here to address the recent attempts on my life and the arrest of Kenneth Ashford." She laid out everything. The assassination attempt at the gala, the bugs in her home, the kidnapping from her own boardroom. But more importantly, she talked about Parker. "This man," she gestured to him, "saved my life 3 times. Not because it was his job, not because he expected anything in return, but because it was the right thing to do." Parker Drake represents everything good about humanity. Courage, selflessness, integrity. Parker shifted uncomfortably in his wheelchair, unused to public attention. "But more than that," Kiana continued, her voice softening, "he reminded me why I do this work, why my father started this company. It's not about the money or the power. It's about using technology to help people. to make the world safer, kinder, better. She turned to face him directly. Parker, you asked me once why I walked alone that night. The truth is, I'd forgotten how to connect with people. I'd built walls so high that no one could reach me. Then you crashed into my life, literally, and tore those walls down. Kiana, Parker said quietly, aware of the cameras, the reporters scribbling notes. I know this is public and probably terrifying for you, she continued. But I'm done hiding. Done pretending that business and life are separate. You and Sophia have become my family, and I want the world to know it. The room erupted in questions. Kiana fielded them with her usual composure, confirming that, yes, she and Parker were together. No, it wasn't a publicity stunt. Yes, this was real. Parker watched her command the room. This brilliant, fierce woman who'd chosen him despite every logical reason not to. When the press conference ended, she wheeled him back to her office. You didn't have to do that, Parker said. Make it public. Yes, I did. I'm tired of living in fear, tired of hiding what matters. She knelt in front of his wheelchair. I love you, Parker Drake. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I love you. I love you too, he said simply. Have since you held my hand in the ambulance that first night. They kissed, and it felt like coming home. 2 weeks later, Parker was cleared for light duty. His shoulder was healing, physical therapy progressing well. Sophia was back home, and life seemed to be settling into a new normal. Then Gerald Phelps requested a private meeting. The board member arrived at Parker's apartment, looking nervous. Parker let him in cautiously, aware that this man had been in the room when Kiana was taken. I need to tell you something, Gerald said without preamble. Something I should have told the FBI. I'm listening. The day of the kidnapping, I received a text. Instructions to keep everyone in the conference room, to make sure the meeting ran long. I thought it was from Kenneth, part of some corporate power play. I didn't know people would get hurt. Parker's hands clenched. You helped them. Not intentionally. But yes, my cooperation allowed them access. Gerald pulled out his phone. The text came from this number, but when I tried to trace it later, I found something strange. He showed Parker the phone records. The number belonged to a next-gen employee, Thomas Whitmore. Parker's blood ran cold. The head of security. He's been working with Ashford for months, providing access, disabling security systems. He's the one who planted the bugs in Kiana's penthouse, who gave the tactical team the entry codes. Why are you telling me this instead of the police? Because Whitmore knows I figured it out. He sent me a message this morning. If I talk, my family dies. But I can't live with this. Kiana deserves to know. Parker called Detective Hayes immediately. Within hours, Whitmore was arrested attempting to flee to Canada. The betrayal cut deep. This was someone Kiana had trusted for years. When Parker told her, she took it surprisingly well. I should have seen it, she said quietly. The signs were there. His resistance to hiring you, his insistence on following protocols that made us predictable. You trusted him. That's not a weakness. Isn't it? My father always said trust was earned, not given. I gave it too freely. Your father also taught you that people deserve second chances. That's not weakness, Kiana. That's humanity. She was quiet for a long moment. How do you always know what to say? I don't. I just know you. The final piece fell into place when FBI forensic accountants discovered Whitmore had gambling debts totaling over $2 million. Ashford had paid them off in exchange for access to Kiana. Trust for money. A man's integrity sold for the price of his mistakes. It's really over now, Kiana said, reading the FBI report. Ashford, Whitmore, the whole conspiracy. It's over, Parker confirmed. But the scars remained, the knowledge that betrayal could come from anywhere, even from those closest to you. 6 months later, Parker stood in the backyard of their new house in Cambridge, watching Sophia play with the robot dog Kiana had designed specifically for her. The house wasn't a mansion, but it was theirs. 3 bedrooms, a yard, good schools nearby. Mrs. Chen lived in the guest house out back, officially Sophia's nanny, but really just family who happened to help with childcare. "Dad," Sophia called, "watch this. I taught Robomax to fetch." Parker watched the mechanical dog retrieve a ball, its movements almost organic thanks to NextGen's AI algorithms. His daughter, the budding engineer, had been tweaking its programming for weeks. "Very impressive, baby." Kiana emerged from the house carrying lemonade. 6 months together, and Parker still found himself amazed that this was his life. She'd stepped back slightly from day-to-day operations at NextGen, promoting a new CEO while she focused on research and development, the work she actually loved. "I have something for you," she said, handing him an envelope. Inside was a college fund statement for Sophia, fully funded through PhD if she wanted. "Kiana, this is too much." "It's not enough. That girl is going to change the world someday. I'm just making sure she has the resources to do it." Parker pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. "Thank you." "For what?" "For crashing into my life, for being exactly who you are." Sophia ran over, robot dog at her heels. "Are you guys being mushy again?" "Absolutely," Kiana said, pulling Sophia into their embrace. "Get used to it." Later that night, after Sophia was asleep, Parker and Kiana sat on their porch watching the stars. "Do you ever miss it?" Kiana asked. "The simplicity of your old life?" "Sometimes. But then I remember being alone, just surviving day to day. This is living." "I proposed to the board that we start a foundation," Kiana said, "using AI to provide free medical diagnostics in underserved communities, named after your wife. The Rachel Drake Memorial Foundation." Parker's throat tightened. She would have loved that. "I thought so too." They sat in comfortable silence, 2 people from completely different worlds who'd found each other through violence and chaos and somehow built something beautiful from it. "Marry me," Parker said suddenly. Kiana turned to him, surprised. "What?" "Marry me. I know we said we'd wait, but I don't want to wait anymore. Life's too short, too unpredictable. I want to wake up every day knowing you're mine and I'm yours." "I don't have a ring to give you," Kiana said, tears in her eyes. "I don't need a ring. I just need you." "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." They kissed under the stars, sealing a promise that had started with a red laser dot and a split-second decision to be brave. Inside, Sophia smiled in her sleep, dreaming of robots and futures bright with possibility. And in the morning, they would start planning a wedding, a merger not of companies, but of hearts, of families, of 2 people who'd saved each other in every way that mattered. The fairy tale, as it turned out, was real after all. Just messier, more complicated, and infinitely more beautiful than any story could capture. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.